I don't know what is the threat from China. I think there is always this thing blown out of, at times, proportion, because US has the habit of defining an enemy. I think time has come for all of us to really network nations and not have confrontation. Our attitude is that of confrontation from day one. And that attitude creates enemy, and that creates certain support in the country. I think we need to change that pattern. To assume that China is the enemy from day one, it's just not fair, not just to China, but to anybody.
Viewers, you've just heard Sam Pitroda, the chairman of the Indian Overseas Congress, who feels there's no threat from China and that it's unfair to consider China as an enemy. He's probably forgotten that 20 of our brave hearts made the ultimate sacrifice at the LAC, defending the Indian territory back in May 2020. They laid down their lives to stop China from infiltrating our land. This is the same country that has repeatedly blocked the listing of Masood Azhar as a global terrorist by the UNSC multiple times. The man who was the mastermind of the 2001 Parliament attack and the 2019 Pulwama attack. While calling for India to change its approach towards China, Pitroda even branded India as a confrontational nation. Finding itself in the dock again, Congress was quick to distance itself from Pitroda's remark, saying his views do not represent the party's view. But it doesn't end there. While Pitroda says China is not an enemy, Rahul goes a step further and is heaping praises on Chinese drones. While holding a banned Made in China drone and in fact comparing it to what is made in India, he says that India is not in a position to compete with foreign equipment manufacturers and that India must focus on the drone ecosystem. Well, the Drone Federation of India chief has come out to dismiss Rahul's criticism of India's drone industry and called his remarks belittling the whole industry.
This is a DJI drone made in China. This is actually where we should be playing. And the network that produces this is where the real value is. And all AI is actually going to be operating on this net. And the sad fact, we don't make any of the components inside this. We don't understand how it's made. We certainly don't make any of the optics. We don't understand how it's made.
That's when young people like me also have to speak up, because it's just, quite frustrating that we have 400 plus companies in the country and about 40 to 50 drone component companies who are working very hard to overcome all these challenges. And then someone who's a sort of followed personality comes up and holds up a Chinese drone and just says that, we don't understand anything in India and, this is, none of these parts are made in India. So it's quite demotivating.
Now, BJP is being quick to question Congress's love for China and has accused the grand old party of trying to undermine Bharat. Listen into the war of words.
कांग्रेस पार्टी के चीन के साथ हुए करार का इजहार सैम पित्रोदा ने दिन दहाड़े कर दिया है. प्रत्यक्ष रूप से साफ साफ दिखाई पड़ रहा है.
We know how to keep China in check and balance. We are having a good relation with every country, but that doesn't mean that every country is a friend of India.
Do you think that he is demeaning our country?
Of course. He has been demeaning all throughout. When on the floor of the parliament he says that we should learn from China. What more demeaning can it be?
Our leader Rahul Gandhi himself has made so many allegations against China. It is the considered opinion of Congress party and Rahul Ji also that China has occupied our land. So if they have occupied our land, how can we consider China as our friend?
अगर हम बॉर्डर पे और एक्टिविटीज के मामले में देखेंगे तो सबसे खतरनाक अगर कोई देश है तो चाइना है, जो भारत की आर्थिक रीढ़ को कमजोर कर रहा है, तोड़ने पे लगा हुआ है, जमीन को भी कब्जा करने पे लगा हुआ है. तो ये सैम पित्रोदा की बात से समाजवादी पार्टी बिल्कुल इत्तेफाक नहीं रखती.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Let's open this up and take it across to our guest now. Joining us is Sanju Verma, national spokesperson of BJP. Tushar Gupta, political analyst, is with us. Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni is a defense expert with us. Joining us on the panel also is Vivek Sailas, national spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Arka Kumar Nag, political analyst, is with us. But let me begin with my first question to Tehseen Poonawala. Tehseen Poonawala, is there a clear pattern here? The BJP says there's a clear pattern to undermine India's interests and India's achievements and sort of showcase or, speak up about what all China has been able to do. On one hand, you have Sam Pitroda saying China is not a threat. On the other hand, you have Rahul Gandhi making all sorts of comments on drones, which the manufacturers themselves are saying this is belittling our own efforts. What is going on, Tehseen?
Madhav, thank you so much for having me on the show. At the onset, let me thank General Sanjay Kulkarni Ji for his services to our nation. It is because of people like him and veterans like him that we are safe and we can debate. So thank you, sir, for your services. There are two issues that are separate that have deliberately, the BJP will deliberately mix up to create a khichdi and try and confuse the issue. Let's first get what Sam Pitroda said. I don't agree with what Sam Pitroda said. I've been very vocal about Sam Pitroda, and I think it's high time that the Congress, apart from just distancing itself, tell Sam Pitroda that every time he sees a camera, he does not have to talk about it, particularly in subjects where he's not an expert. Geopolitics suddenly is not his topic. Please, sir, मैं थोड़ा disturb हो रहा हूँ. It is really not his topic. So he should be very categorical about it. That's the first part about it to understand. But if you dissect Sam Pitroda's statement, it was a rubbish statement, nonsensical statement. Of course, India was the victim out here. As recent as 2020, we had 20 martyrs from the Bihar regiment, 16 Bihar regiment that we lost in Galwan. But what has Sam Pitroda said that is different from what Jaishankar ji said? In a podcast with Smita Prakash ji, Jaishankar ji said, what do you do? China is a much more powerful country. The most honorable Prime Minister on Times Now said, na koi ghusa tha, na koi ghus paya, thereby giving China a clean chit. China used the Prime Minister's statement. Thereby, we had to ask if nobody is coming, what are we negotiating? Can we patrol to that extent? And we know the mistakes the government made, what happened in 2020. I don't want to go down that route. Trade deficit today is 100 billion plus with China. Is it Rahul Gandhi's fault?
No. Once again. You're drawing all these parallels with what Mr. Jaishankar has said, what the Prime Minister said. Please tell me, where is the Prime Minister, Mr. Jaishankar, said that the threat from China has been blown out of proportion because US has a tendency to define an enemy. It's time for nations to collaborate, not confront. Has anyone from the government of India said this?
I agree with you.
So why are you comparing it to what EM and PM have said?
I agree with you. I think Sam Pitroda should not talk. Every time he talks...
No, why not take action against him? Again, he was suspended during the Lok Sabha elections. Then he is reinstated. Again and again he makes these remarks. Why should the Congress not act on an individual like this?
Your viewers won't get it. So you decide. Madhav, I'm a guest on your show. I've understood your question. If you interrupt me every word, your guests won't get it. I'll keep quiet. You finish and I'll answer. But allow me to answer. I get what you're saying. I'm not disputing it. I'm saying Sam Pitroda does not understand it. He should not talk. He's damaging the Congress. But I'm saying that is a damage politically and perceptually to the Congress. The real damage to our nation is being done by the BJP vis-a-vis China. $100 billion trade deficit. Is that the Congress's fault? You buy Russian oil and you pay in Chinese currencies. Rahul Gandhi forcing you to do it. What is this? Okay. I am saying Sam Pitroda's statement, let me use the S word.
No, don't have to use any abusive words, please. This is a family viewing channel. News channels are viewed by all members of different age groups. Let me get Sanju Verma on this. Sanju Verma, the damage that is being done is by the BJP. In terms of trade deficit, it has ballooned when it comes to China. And that is what was being referred to. And there are leaders of the BJP who have also, indicated that we have to go soft on China, is Tehseen's claim. Please respond to him.
Madhav, what I fail to understand is, why is it that the BJP needs to respond to every reckless allegation by every Congress darbari? But since yours is a much-watched show, let me make a few points which your audience, I'm sure, will take cognizance of. First and foremost, I am not willing on your show to give a clean chit to Rahul Gandhi by allowing Tehseen Poonawala to deflect and digress. As JP Nadda has rightly said, whenever Congress is in the dock, latkana, atkana, bhatkana becomes their strategy. Today, the discussion is not about the trade deficit with China, though I can give Tehseen a lesson or two on that. Let's be very clear about the moot issue here. The moot issue here is that Rahul Gandhi was applauding a DJI drone. Point number one, DJI drones are banned in India from 2022. So how did Rahul Gandhi lay hands on a DJI drone? Question number one. Question number two, Drone rules of 2021 mandate that all drones should be registered on digital sky. Did Rahul Gandhi register this drone that he was flaunting on digital sky? Question number 3. Operating a drone requires a remote pilot certificate. Does Rahul Gandhi have a remote pilot certificate? Question number 4. Rahul Gandhi's residence and office are in the red zone in all likelihood, which means that for operating a drone, he requires clearance from the Ministry of Home Affairs. Did Rahul Gandhi get a clearance from the MHA before flying that drone? That is question number 5. And question number 6. Why is it that Rahul Gandhi has no hesitation in flaunting a China-made DJI drone? But this is the same Rahul Gandhi who till date, when India overtakes UK to become the world's 5th largest economy, Rahul Gandhi consumes Fevicol. When we become the world's only country to have a landing on the south pole of the moon, Rahul Gandhi consumes Fevicol. When we become the world's 6th largest stock market, Rahul Gandhi consumes Fevicol. When we become the country with the 8th largest gold reserve,
very quick response from Tehseen. Many questions. Yes, Sanju Verma. Quick response from Tehseen. If it was illegal, how did Mr. Rahul Gandhi get it? Does he have the license? Does he have a permission from the government to actually bring in a drone? And import of these drones has been banned since 2022. Tehseen, respond to what Sanju is saying.
All right. I don't want to go, and I do understand drones. I also do understand AI and quantum, which are separate subjects. I don't want to go into the technical capacities, but let's understand one thing for sure. Rahul Gandhi just exposed the entire BJP ecosystem, and on live television, the BJP spokesperson admitted it. A drone that is illegal is inside India. The government has no clue about it. Made by a not friendly nation. By the way, there's a deficit of 88 billion until February with China. You can explain me whatever maths you paid for Russian oil in Chinese currency. Number 2, the drone was operated in a red zone area where the Honorable President, Vice President, Chief Justice, Prime Minister stay. The government was clueless. Clueless like a deer before headlights. That's what I'm telling you. This is a clueless government. They were as clueless as when the Chinese aggressors entered Indian territory and martyred our people. Sure enough, we killed 300 of their soldiers later on, threw their bodies down. But they killed 20 of our people, and the government was responsible for it. You know why? I'll end here. Because Indian Tibetan Border Patrol in 2020 sent 18 letters and 20 satellite images were sent to the Home Ministry of Chinese build-up on Ladakh. India did not do a build-up on Ladakh.
Okay, Sanju, quick response, and I have to move across to others. Quick response, Sanju Verma. The government has been caught napping as Tehseen's allegation. Please respond.
You know, Madhav, Tehseen can say that, oh, the BJP is obsessed with Pandit Nehru, but let me remind that China के सामने घुटने 1962 में नेहरू ने टेके थे. You know, we gave away 38,000 square kilometers of Aksai Chin on a golden platter to the Chinese, thanks to Rahul Gandhi's great-grandfather Nehru. And even in 2013, we gave away 640 square kilometers, thanks to the proxy government of Sonia Gandhi / Manmohan Singh. So for Tehseen Poonawalla to sit here and wax eloquent is a whole lot of balderdash. In fact, the Modi government forced China to voluntarily disengage post-Galwan, which China has never done, despite having a territorial dispute with at least 18 countries. And let me remind one last point to Tehseen. The first time Apple Macintosh computer became available in India was 1996. But after 27 years in 2023, Apple actually opened a first-time full-fledged store in India. For 27 years, we were only importing iPhones. So इसलिए तहसीन पूनावाला शांत हो जाओ.
Okay, let me bring in some of the other panelists as well. Arka Kumar Nag, when you have Sam Pitroda coming out to say that our approach has been confrontational from the very beginning, this attitude creates enemies, which in turn garners support within the country. We need to change our mindset. China is not the enemy. It's unfair not just to China, but everyone. Why ignore Chinese aggression on the border and lack of support from China? You know, at the international forum, we have seen what they've done as far as Masood Azhar is concerned. We've seen how our approach was, don't do any development near the borders. As a former defense minister was on record saying that, you know, from that approach to now, there has been some amount of change. But the larger question being made over here is that why are we glorifying our competitors and, you know, in a sense, trying to dissuade those within the country who are trying to compete against them?
No, I do not absolutely agree with what Mr. Pitroda has said. And I believe that he is not aware of the mood of the people of India and China, because there are two facts I would like to bring to your notice. One is that the Observer Research Foundation had a survey in 2021 August where 77% of the respondents who were the Indian youths, they voted that they are not in favor of China, or they do not see China as a friend of India. And to counter that, I would like to add on that in 2023, Newshour University of China held a survey in China where only 8% of the Chinese respondents came up and said that they consider India to be a favorable nation, where around 50.60% of the respondents in China said that they see India as an enemy. But whatever the fact remains, the people of India at present, because of the aggressive attitude of China, cannot consider China to be a friend, because a friend does not barge into your home or sit down to your gates waiting for, getting into the home and taking over the land. That is something which we absolutely disagree with what Mr. Pitroda said. But once again, another point is that if China is coming into our territory, taking control of our territories, or making any unfavorable situation for which our army personals are dying, I believe the central government must take it up as strongly as possible. And as you all know that, I have an inclination towards the All India Trinamool Congress, and the Trinamool Congress had always publicly said that whatever the foreign policy is adopted by the central government, irrespective of the party in power, the Trinamool Congress will support that. So if China is taking up steps which is against India, the central government must be firm enough.
Lieutenant General Kulkarni on that. I've seen many hands going up, but Lieutenant General Kulkarni, at the end of the day, when you see these kind of statements being made, which are completely insensitive to the supreme sacrifice that has been made by so many of our braves at the border. And it's not one incident. There have been multiple incidents where China has tried to be the aggressor. Every time we've managed to push them back. The question is this, that, should people sitting on foreign soil be, waxing eloquent on issues which they perhaps have zero understanding of? And with the sentiment of the people, which Mr. Nag was just now referring to, is totally very, very different and pretty much the opposite to what Mr. Sam Pitroda is saying.
Madhav, there is no denying the fact that we have a boundary dispute with China for the last 7 decades plus. We did go into a war in 1962 with them. We did give them a drubbing in 1967, and we have had agreements with them in 1993, 1996, 2005, 2007, 2013, primarily for confidence-building measures and to ensure peace and tranquility. But it is there was a total breach of trust by China, what it did in Galwan, in which we lost lives, they also lost lives. But that's not the purpose. China today can't be trusted for what it has done. And therefore, it is the responsibility of China to ensure that they win the hearts and minds of Indians now. Because we have all along been ensuring that we have good neighborly relations. But China, instead of having good neighborly relations, violated all the treaties that we've signed with China. What is it that we are doing? The borders along with China are definitely, I would say, stable today, but sensitive. The disengagement process has started after long, almost since 2020, when the incidents took place at Galwan. But the de-escalation will take some time, and of course it starts, but the de-induction may or may not take place at all. But to claim that it is India which is an aggressor is totally incorrect. Probably people aren't aware at all. It's China which is an aggressor. It is China which breaches all the treaties that we have signed with China. It is China which is indulging in all kinds of rhetorics and doing what it is doing along the line of actual control. So I don't understand. I'm not a political man, and the army is totally apolitical. Well, the situation is stable but sensitive. That is what I will say. And therefore to say that China is our friend, definitely not. China is a neighbor. China hasn't done much as yet to gain our friendship. It will take time, because it is China which the total breach of trust was by China. Yeah.
Let me quickly bring in Vivek Salas. Vivek Salas, it is something that is very well known. At the end of the day, it is China that is the aggressor. Why should anyone be an apologist for what China is saying or what China is doing?
No, it could be the Sam Pitroda could be a foolish man. There's nothing what he said.
Still holds an important post in the Congress party.
Whatever he is overseas of the Congress, he has nothing to do with India. But I think he's an absolutely foolish man. Because if you see the statement of late Mulayam Singh Yadav ji, he was the one to say in the Lok Sabha that China is our biggest enemy. What is Pakistan? Pakistan is just a mosquito in front of India. The real enemy is the Chinese, but there are very valid questions to be asked from the Bharatiya Janata Party. As Tehseen very rightly said, that the Chinese are the biggest trade partners of India. Why? Even today. And India is using the deep seek artificial intelligence of the Chinese. Can you deny that? Chinese are openly funding Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka and Nepal, and we are helpless. And we are losing our neighbors. The relations which we had with them, we are losing it just because of the Chinese, intervention. Trump today is having a soft corner for Xi Jinping. Why? Yuan is rising against the dollar, and Indian rupee is falling rock bottom against the dollar. That is also a concern. But these concerns have to be seen by the government who are in power. It is the Bharatiya Janata Party. We all know what, Mr. S. Jaishankar said. They are a bigger economy. We cannot fight with them. And Modi ji was swinging with Xi Jinping. Modi ji also said, na koi aaya hai, na koi gaya hai. So these are the things. And so, on the Chinese land, last thing, on the Chinese land, our Honorable Prime Minister said कि 2014 से पहले जो लोग पैदा होते थे, वो कहते थे कहाँ किस देश में पैदा हो गए थे. So obviously, these questions will be asked. It's good we are discussing on China today.
Okay, so, but bringing in a banned drone into the country, showcasing it, trying to demoralize the drone manufacturers, that is correct?
That. Yes, of course.
No, but
the central government has to see that.
What Mr. Rahul Gandhi has done is correct according to you.
No, as Sanju Verma said, she almost proved that Rahul Gandhi is a terrorist. Of course. The government should investigate. She said, how come he was flying? Does she have the license or not? Does he have the, pilots, whatever the technical terms she used? But
if it is banned,
what was the central government doing?
Let me show you. This is what was answered by the government on the 28th of March 2022. Ban on import of drones, where the government very clearly says in a parliamentary reply that these drones are banned. If somebody brings them to surreptitious means, is that the government's fault or the person who's bringing them?
It should be investigated with immediate effect.
Investigated. Let me bring in Tushar. Tushar Gupta, your response to what Mr. Vivek Sailas is saying. He says it should be investigated as to who is responsible for bringing in such banned drones into Indian territory. And he also says that yes, it's a fact that China, if we are still continuing to engage in bilateral trade with them, why should we if they are an enemy country?
Good evening, Madhav. Look, let me take a very dispassionate stance on the entire situation and let me put down my explanation. My good friend Tehseen says we have a trade deficit of $100 billion. Why do we have this trade deficit? Because in India, MSMEs import a lot of goods from China and then they trade it in India where they pocket the margin, and that's how the business works. Now, this government is saying, why do you want to import from China? We'll help you manufacture, even if you're an MSME. So in the last 2 and 3 budgets, the budget presented last year after the elections had a lot of perks for MSMEs when it came to employment, when it came to credit access, number one. Number two, when we set up a manufacturing ecosystem in India, there are bigger players that need to be given tax breaks. South Korea did that, Taiwan did that, China did that. And we did that via the production-linked incentive scheme, which today is yielding results. I'll give an example. FY21, the value of our smartphone exports was around $3.5 billion. In FY24, it's exceeding $15 billion. In FY25, a quarter still to go to be reported, we'll exceed $18 billion. But the Congress mocks the PLI scheme. Now, Rahul Gandhi in the parliament said, oh, look, this is assembled in India. There are no components being manufactured. Fair enough. The government said, we are putting aside $10 billion for the PLI scheme for semiconductors. That's the atom for an electronic device, to give an analogy. Rahul Gandhi's advisors, when the books they were writing, and he is a former RBI governor as well, he was mocking the semiconductor PLI scheme, saying, oh, what are the number of jobs you are creating? One doesn't understand that when you go for a components ecosystem, you do not evaluate it on a job scale, but on a strategic scale. And we've seen the global supply chain crisis that broke out after the Russia-Ukraine war. Tehseen also said there was a build-up in Ladakh because the Chinese were building up and the Indian side was not absolutely correct. But it was the UPA defense minister in 2013 who from the floor of the parliament said it's better to have underdeveloped borders because they, unlike otherwise, if they are developed, they provoke the enemy. It was the Modi government that stood up to the Chinese and said, look, no Huawei for 5G trials. Madhav, understand, when someone like Sam Pitroda says that we should not not look at the Chinese as our enemy. There is an economic connotation to it. After 2020, after Galwan, the Indian side, the Modi government has sensed an urgency in manufacturing. The whole Atmanirbharta thing you see. It's not just in TLI. Even if you talk to the MSMEs, the smaller players, they now want to manufacture in India. And the Congress, it appears, wants to arrest that development. Rahul Gandhi holds a drone and says, look, you can't do this in India. Why can't? The Drone Federation of India president proved them wrong. So it's an economic angle that we must explore. Let's not be very emotional about it. There is answer to every economic argument being made on this panel.
Right. All right. You want to quickly respond to that, Tehseen, because there are a number of questions that you have raised which are being answered here by Tushar. And he says that at the end of the day, one has to look at the basics of this. One has to look at, very dispassionately what the situation on ground is. One cannot be going around making such irresponsible statements like are being made by particularly Mr. Sam Pitroda, and of course, the context of which Mr. Rahul Gandhi has spoken, to which in fact Kiran Rijiju, when he spoke recently in Parliament, specifically said that LOP appears to be praising China more than his own country.
There are three aspects, and I broadly agree with what Tushar said, but there are three aspects out here. When COVID struck us and, most nations decided they must have a China plus one policy with regards to manufacturing, India lost out massively in these shift of industries to Vietnam, to South Korea, even Thailand, and in South America to Mexico. India lost out massively. This is because of the tax terrorism unleashed by the present government and the tax harassment that this government has been unleashing on entrepreneurs. That's point number one. I'm leaving it there. That's not our debate for today. We'll debate that some other day. Point number two, the Ladakh build-up every year, and General Saab will bear with me, India and China do military exercises between March and May in Ladakh every year, irrespective. In 2020, India did not do the military exercise, but China did it. This is because of COVID, so India was doing Operation Namaskar. But we knew China was doing its military exercises. You knew there was a build-up. 20 satellite images went. NTRO sent it. 18 letters went from Indian Tibetan Border Patrol Force. Yet, the Honorable Home Minister was busy in Shine Bagh. They didn't take it seriously when there's a military build-up in front of you.
Okay,
later on, I agree with Tushar.
Almost out of time on this debate. Quick response from Sanju Verma on that. Sanju Verma, quick response to Tehseen.
Yeah, Madhav, now, Tehseen, you had your say. I'm reminded of this famous quote by Mark Twain. It is better to keep your mouth closed and let people think you are a fool than to open it and remove all doubt. And Tehseen, I hope you got the drift. Let me just take off from what Tushar said. Trade deficit aisa hai, waisa hai, currency. By the way, yuan has hit a 16-month low against the dollar, breaching 7.4. But the moot point is this. 3 years back, Madhav, our electronic exports were nothing much to write home about. Today, our annual electronic exports are worth 2,64,000 crore, out of which our mobile phone exports are 1,32,000 crore. Out of this 1,32,000 crore, the amount of iPhones exported by India are worth 66,000 crore, from being a net importer of mobile phones, particularly smartphones and iPhones. Today, we are a net exporter of iPhones. We are dislodging China big time, slowly but surely, one step at a time. China Premi Tehseen Punawala, Rahul Gandhi se पूछिए, why is he flying a Chinese DJI drone? Did he get Ministry of Home Affairs?
Yeah, that's a question we've debated, Sanju Verma. I think we're repeating that point, but let's leave it there. There are, of course, many questions. There are questions about India's own security itself and what has happened at the borders. But nevertheless, whether when it comes to issues such as China, there has to be a broad consensus rather than political parties bickering over it, because ultimately what is the national interest is that we secure Indian industry and India's borders. I think that's the bottom line that we have to keep in mind. I'd like to thank Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni and Arka Kumar Nag for joining us. All our other panelists, I'd like to thank Tehseen Punawala as well. Sanju Verma, Tushar Gupta as well as Vivek Salas. Stay for debate number 2.